welcome to King Legend Talks, everybody. This is the one and only, the real London Brown. How you feeling today?
Man, I ain't got no complaints, man. I'm working, I'm alive. I get to chop it up with you, brother. That's the main thing, man. Everything is good.
Absolutely. It's an honor to have you on the platform. You
Thank you,
definitely,
thank you.
you're welcome. You definitely been working, brother. I mean, you seem real focused and you ready to go get it. And one of the things I like the most about you is from what I hear is like you like to stay ready so you ain't got to get ready, man.
I realize that that's the main thing, man, because so many work is on the way. My whole life, I live in anticipation, man. So I'm just always trying to make sure that I'm doing things that are progressive. So
Right.
I just, as long as I stay ready, again, I stay ready. I ain't got to get ready. I really believe in that. So that's my whole MMO. So, but thank you for having me, man. I appreciate you, brother.
Absolutely. That's super dope. Of course, we're going to get into it, man. So I'm going to start off with the starters. You know, a lot of people may not know this about you, but of course, you was doing your stand-up comedy, man. That actually took me by surprise as well. And not only doing it, you actually won an international award.
Yeah, you know what? Because I'll touch on it real quick. So basically, I was when I first started stand up, I was working clubs in LA, and then the quick version is I wind up connecting with Chris Tucker, and Chris Tucker, shout out to D Ray out of Chicago. D Ray Davis said, "Yo, Chris, you should see London Get Out." And so I was at the Improv in Hollywood in LA, and Chris saw me perform, and we exchanged contact, whatever. And then I went on. I started touring with Chris Tucker as his feature,
Mm-hmm.
and because I was with him, is what allowed me to go and do these international dates. Like we did, like we did Canada, we did some dates in Canada, and we did some dates in Europe. And
Right.
so that caused me to be recognized on that level of it. Um, so it was good stuff, man. So yeah, but I come from theater, and theater is what let me know. Um, I've always enjoyed the interaction or the response from doing live performance, and so making the transition from theater into stand up,
Mm-hmm.
I was able to get the same vibe from theater with doing stand up. Stand up is just like a one man play anyway, a one man act anyway, or whatever.
Right.
So theater was what I was coming from. Stand up let me know that I could do the same thing, and so that was I felt like stand up was my first was my real voice as far
Right.
as an artist, and so I ain't want to be verbose about this, but that's just a quick story of how I even got into stand up. But yeah, I come from stand up, man.
Absolutely. You know, I think that's pretty cool because you kind of was able to realize you can be versatile with the tools that you have, the gift that you have, and then it kind of bridged on to the acting. You know,
Yeah,
so I know you from LA. You know, what was it like growing up for you?
man. Yeah, from South Central LA. I stayed next door to some Crips, and I stayed 5 houses down from another set of Crips. And so I grew up in the Crip neighborhood, or for those who don't know culturally, who's out the loop, I stayed in an area where they only wear blue. So I didn't even wear the color red until I was like, my first time really wearing red was maybe like 22, when I was
Wow.
22 or something like that in my 20s, because you just culturally didn't think about it, but that's just what it was. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but the gang members in the area was always cool with me because they knew I wasn't affiliated on that level. You know what I mean? I
Right.
would just, I just went to school, came back, I made them laugh. I knew their nieces and nephews because the younger siblings that was associated with the gang members, we all went to school together occasionally. So it was
Yeah.
always cool, man. It was never nothing weird. Um, and then even in high school, I hung out with gang members, but um, as long as I made them laugh a couple times, I told some jokes, did some impersonations. They never they never had an issue with me, and I realized that they was cool with me because I made them laugh, and that was it. And they would drop me off and to school and all that kind of thing. So I
Right.
got through just on good, really just on good vibes alone
Right.
is what got me through, man. But I ain't gonna say that. Let me not say that. My mother, I know I had a mother that was praying for me,
Mm-hmm.
and so I remember when I was like 10 years old, my mother prayed. You know, I remember her praying for me. She's like, God, uh, just keep London so busy you don't get caught up in the streets.
Right.
And I was always doing plays. I did sports and different things like that. So I got through.
Now, do you feel that God was protecting you your whole life going through that? The environment that you were brought up in. How do you feel about that? What's your take on that?
Man, I had a lot of people praying for me because under the circumstances, I should have been a statistic. Easy, statistically, I was prone to all the gang stuff in the 90s in LA. As far as I remember, there's an infamous case of the shooting of Natasha Harlins. Natasha Harlins back in the night, I think it was like 92. Natasha Harlins, that whole situation was at a corner store. At the corner, that corner store was on my block. So we talking about the Rodney King situation. We talking about LA when it was like LA, the real LA of riots
Yeah.
and so that was my era of just being in the mix. But I know that people were praying for me, man, because I mean I could have easily got wrapped up and caught up, man, because I was just around the atmosphere of it, and
Right.
I remember I was so involved around street people that it was low key ex crackhead who showed me how to cut hair when I was like 13, 14, and I went to the rehab center. Um, the rehab center was connected to my church, so um, basically I would hang around the rehab center, and
Mm-hmm.
I remember we talking about ex gang members, ex murderers, ex ex whatever. It was
Yeah.
all in the mix, but there was I always saw these guys as just very solid men, in my life. They just kind of gave me the game. They showed me how to make a tie, and they
Right.
talked to me about relationships. They talked to me about the street life. They talking about just how to be responsible. Because a lot of times, with street people, they got a lot of game, even though their path has gone off course. After you do time in prison and you come back and you really kind of get your life together, you got a lot of information to help somebody else. So I got a lot of that information where they were able to give me the game.
Mm-hmm.
So through that, I realized that people are people, man. And
Right.
so just on the strength of that, I know that God placed certain people around me that allowed me to kind of keep myself in order, man. Not that I'm perfect. I ain't nothing. I
Right.
ain't nothing of nothing, but uh, the, the little bit of focus I've been able to have, I know comes from people praying for me and that kind of thing.
Absolutely. So now I'm gonna ask you a question about the youth, man, because I feel like there's a lot of stuff going on with the youth right now. The violence and just the culture in general. Um, I know for a fact that it used to be, when they saw, I'm just going to speak about certain gangs, when they saw someone that looked like they had potential or those dreams, they were like trying to keep things away from them, kind of shelter it from them. Nowadays, I feel like a lot of the people have kind of gone away from that mentality, and it's kind of just whatever you want. Here you go, passing on to everyone.
Yeah.
What is your take on the direction of the youth, this current state, and what can we do to improve that? The mentality of the youth.
I think honestly, I think it takes a lot of. I think people got to really talk to them in a honest and pure in a real way, in the sense that I remember growing up in the '80s. It was only a few occupations, like you'd be a teacher. It was like a doctor, teacher, lawyer, and then an athlete. This is back in the
Right.
'80s, right?
Hmm.
So when it was only, I remember that's what I remember hearing. Like only like four occupations, 4 or 5 occupations, and no one told me that I can be a barber, a photographer. or anything like that. So I think that it takes a lot of solid adults to go back and reach out to young people and say, "Yo, man, listen, figure out a focus." But more so, in addition to the focus, finding like having some discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Discipline is everything. You know what I mean? Discipline is everything. It's the thing that sets us apart, but it's the thing that allows us to get. It's the thing that allows us to get done what we need to get done. And
Right.
I think a lot of people today don't have any discipline. It's everyone governing themselves with no accountability. And I don't even mean to I don't mean to get this deep, but pause. But I think that like people got need some sort of spiritual base of something on some sort of level. You, you can't walk
Absolutely.
you can't walk this earth alone. Like I know I have all kind of people. I got atheists and different people that follow me, but I'm like on some sort of level. I ain't go. I won't even say. I won't say God for people that don't believe God. You just need something outside of yourself that to be accountable to get yourself through this, man. Because I know at least for me, I ain't nothing, bro. I ain't. You know, I I know I need help. Or
Explain a little bit about that. Why do you say that you're nothing? Why do you feel that
meaning
way?
meaning I know that I'm something, but in my humility of understanding that with God, through God, by way of God,
Mm-hmm.
in comparison to, I ain't nothing. I don't deserve
Gotcha.
whatever success, whatever people think that they feel like. I know people see me on TV shows, or I have friends who think, I got a little. They like the way I dress and think I'm cool and all that other surfacey stuff. But I'm saying that I don't deserve anything, bro.
Right.
There've been situations. I've been in the middle of drive-bys and all kind of stuff where I should have been gone. I should have been shot. But I know somebody was praying for me. That someone was praying for me is what allowed me to survive a lot of different stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So when I say I'm not anything, I'm just speaking from a space of humility. You know,
Right.
because like, bro, like these things, like even when it comes to my career and different things like that, when I did a TV show called Ballers on HBO, and I didn't have an agent or a manager, and the fact that I was able to be, the fact that they were even looking for me for
Mm-hmm.
that project, because with a big show like that and a network like that,
Yeah.
usually you need agents, you need some people you need to be connected to people in Hollywood to get in the just to get in the rooms. You
Right.
gotta you gotta have people in. You gotta know. You gotta have some. Not to be funny, but to real rap, you gotta know some Jews. You gotta be connected to some white folk to get in the rooms. So the fact that I was able to get in the rooms just on people inquiring about me, I know that's God, bro. They ain't got nothing to do with me. I wasn't even at the time. I was working as a choreographer. I was dancing, working on some project. Man, I was out the mix. I was still
Right.
doing, I was doing working, I was doing, um, I was doing stand up at the time, doing some acting classes, some free acting classes, and then my side hustle was choreography. I was making some little chump change, working on some projects like that. So,
Right.
you know, I just know that, and I always try to be very vociferous about the idea that I know that I always give praise to God, man. God worked it out, bro.
That's
Because
good, man. That's good that you're aware of that, because a lot of times, some people have this self-made mentality, and I've never really agreed with that
I'm
idea.
saying, bro.
So many people are like, I'm self-made. I made it out the mud. I did it on my own. I'm like, bro, somebody helped you. I don't care what you say. You may not give them credit, but somebody, even if it was your hater, even if it was your enemy, somebody
Yeah,
was
man.
there in your corner to make you want to go that much harder. Somebody
That's the
was there that
thing.
was influencing you to be like that.
Absolutely, bro. That's what I'm saying. Self-made. I understand self-made. I understand the idea. People talking about chasing the bag. I understand why they say these things, but there's no way that. That's why I always try to be, especially at whatever interview I do, I
Yeah.
try to be very clear. Not first of all, not to be one person in in on the gram or one person in the interviews and then another person in person. I know, and this is my way of just so that this is my small way of just
Right.
acknowledging God, so that God, because look, the minute I start getting off track and thinking that it's actually me who did this and who set it up, and hey man, I got these gifts, and it's just when I start moving like that, I know my life gonna change, man. I would much rather keep myself grounded, and I try to stay on the ground because when I fall, it's not if I fall, but
Hmm.
when I fall, I won't be very far because I'm already down here. So
Right.
I don't want God to come in and say, "Oh, London, you think it's about you?" And he snatched all my stuff. I'm like, no, no,
Right.
no. I want you to do it. I'm gonna keep myself grounded. But it's important to know that because a lot of people really think it's about them, bro. And it's crazy because when we start thinking like that, that's all that stuff is just I just never been that kind of guy. I can't get with that energy of thinking
Absolutely.
I wouldn't even but like you said, even even if you like to just think that it was totally you. I think about high school teachers. Shout out to Mark Swinton. Think about my acting coach, Byron Nora. I think about my mother who was praying. The
Hmm.
people at my church who was praying. I think about the people, my family, my friends, anybody that was praying who said a little something that said, yo, God, watch over London, or even people who send positive vibes, who just say, yo, man, do well on that project, who meant it from their heart. And I
Right.
appreciate all of those people, man. All that stuff helps to allow me to be in this particular space. It's not about me. That's silly, bro. People who think like that, man, that's an insecurity. At the core of it, it's insecurity
Right.
for people to really think that it's about them. They gotta exert themselves in that sort of way.
It
It takes,
definitely is.
bro. It takes way more. You have to be way more of a secure person to be able to give it up and say pause and be able to say, yo, this person helped me. Let me acknowledge them. Let me give them their credit.
Hmm.
And what what that's corny, bro. For a brother, for anybody to be like, I got here on my own.
Right. It's
That's
disrespectful to everybody that helped you become who you are today. I feel
never.
like
That's silly.
we all learn from experiences we go through in life. You know what
Absolutely,
I'm
bro.
saying? And those experiences you go through, you really don't have control over the environment or the different variables that play a part in making you who you are today. The
Yes,
people we meet, the way we feel about this certain individual when we have interactions with this person, it all causes us to have this change to our character. You know what
right.
I'm saying? So a lot of people that go through trauma, it's certain trauma that causes them to change who they are as a person. So what I reason I bring that up is because it doesn't always have to be that role model. It doesn't always have to be that positive influence that had an impact on
Mm.
your life. Sometimes it could be that one person that pissed you off so bad that you got your act together. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, I'll give
Sometimes,
you this one. That's not to cut you off. I'll give you this one. My first agent, or one of my first agents, he said to me, he said, they wanted me to do some kind of like beer commercial.
mhm,
And I didn't want to do a beer commercial because at the time I had a show on TV, but I was still working in the after school program. I was still working with kids, right?
right,
And my agents wanted me to go do some beer commercial. And I was like, man, I don't want to do that. You know, they was like, man, come on, that's a lot of money. It's an international. You can book it. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. And then they said to me, being mean or whatever that you want to call it, he was like, man, you lucky we even want to represent you. I was like,
wow,
man, I was like, that sounds kind of weird. I was like, what was up with that? And So long story short, I parted ways with them. So to the point that you're making, sometimes it's like that. Like I know that, and this was I did this was that conversation we happened like 2013, which
Mm-hmm.
was like months before I had an audition for HBO Ballers, and so I know that when HBO Ballers dropped, and
Mm-hmm.
he looked up and he saw me in the trailer, I know there was a part of him that was just like, "Yo, that's we had that client." Like, well, that's why
Right.
sometimes it's not. Sometimes again, it's just understanding that, like as you mentioned, sometimes the people that hate on you can be a lot of drive and inspiration for you. That's why,
Right.
actually, one of my last posts that I did on my page was when you understand that the haters that you have in your life, it's not personal when they hate on you. You just
Right.
you are a reflection of the lack of progress that they see when they look at you. When you understand that, you don't take the hate personal. You you
Right.
you say, "Oh, okay, I get it." And so I realized that because early on I used to be always tripping off the people hating on me and bothered, and it ain't personal, man. The, the haters ultimately are just folks who haven't figured out what their gift is yet. They haven't figured out what their purpose is. So they going through life and they watching you, they watching me, they watching anybody progressive,
Mm-hmm.
and they're feeling some type of way when they shouldn't. But those are the insecurities that people deal with. I'm like, listen, everybody has something great that they're good at. Everybody has a purpose. Everyone has some sort of thing that, some sort of reason of why they were placed here.
Mm-hmm.
But those who take a moment to discover and tap into why they're here, they become successful because they're moving in their gift. And the
Right.
other people just haven't moved in it. Part of the reason they haven't moved in it because they're so busy staring around, looking at everybody else, and try. I'm like, listen, forget looking at everybody else. Figure out yourself. You do something great too, bro. I know ain't no special people.
Right.
Everybody got something special that God gave them. It just depends on the people who have enough discipline and enough focus to tap into that.
And focus is a big deal, man. I find like that's really the key to finding out what your gift is. You know, a lot of times, not everyone's gonna have the obvious gifts. And
You're
what I
right,
mean
right
by
on, right
that
on,
is like
right on.
those natural talents, like, oh, you're a good basketball player, football player, athlete, or you're a singer. Like that's obvious. You sing and it sounds good. No one really taught you. You just kind of born with it. You knew you were born to sing. But some people they have those unique talents, those unique gifts where it's like, man, unless I really explore my
Mm-hmm.
options and different experiences, sometimes you don't even know what you get at until you try it. You know what I'm
That
saying?
that right there is that, and that's always been my thing. This goes back to why I was dealing with why I was a teacher and while I worked in after school programs, boys and girls clubs, and so forth. Is you mentioned something earlier on, but my whole thing has always been to tap in with young people
Mm-hmm.
to help them to figure out what it is they're supposed to do. The thing that we do really, really well with the least amount of effort is the gift. As I remember what an OG told me one time. He said, "Man, you got to tap into what do you do well. It ain't on purpose, or it's not by accident rather
Mm-hmm.
that we do certain things well. But I think a lot of times we just ignore it, and we be like, oh, I cook, or man, this natural proclivity to you know organize or help people or be a counselor. We got to tap into that. Our life changes when we're moving in our special gift. You know what I mean? That's why once people understand that when you're moving in your gift is going to make way for all the things that you want to do. I'll give you a regular basic example. When you look at Snoop, we know Snoop as a West Coast gangster rapper, but
Right.
Snoop has done commercials. Work and when I say Martha Stewart, I'm not saying Martha Stewart because sometimes people if I say he got to work with Martha Stewart, I know some people think I'm saying, oh, he got to work with some white woman, and that's not the angle I'm coming from. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that the fact that he got to work with somebody that's polar opposite of him,
Right.
not the fact that she's white, but the
Yeah.
fact that she dealing, Martha Stewart deals with a lot of stuff that ain't got nothing to do with necessarily weed and Crips. You know what I
Right.
mean? She in a whole different zone. There's a whole different zone. But the fact that he got to work with her and doing that food and cooking, and then he got a TV show, he got a podcast, wardrobe, he got shoes and hosting this show. But it all made way by way of his gift to speak to people through music. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So I think that a lot of times people just they gotta, but this where the discipline comes in, where people got to really slow down and stop chasing the bag. I know a lot of rappers, I know a lot of homies, their whole MO is to chase the bag. I'm like, man,
Right.
if you chasing money, you're always gonna be chasing money. But if you're going after your gift and seeking your purpose, the money gonna be there. People gonna pay. You focus on what you're supposed to be doing. People will pay you to just do the thing that you are supposed to do. And
Absolutely.
when that
Because one thing
happens,
I
man,
found about when you following your purpose, everything else kind of takes care of itself.
I'm
Because that's your
saying, bro,
purpose. That's what you're supposed to be doing. God wouldn't give you a purpose for when you follow it, everything else falls apart. Your
exactly,
your
bro.
your purpose was designed for you. So when you're following that purpose, you're doing everything that you're supposed to be doing. So you're going to be taken care of every way, shape, and form.
There
Now
you go.
it's gonna be obstacles because that's part
Absolutely,
of this life that we live in. But
absolutely,
just
absolutely.
know that as long as you're following your purpose, you're gonna make it through those obstacles because those obstacles is gonna end up turning into experiences or lessons to help build you for that next level of elevation. Because as
That's
long
what
as
it
you're on
is.
that level of your purpose, it's called elevation. You're gonna go reach the next level and the next level and the next level.
That's the deal, bro. That's what. So, but and that's why if you're doing something when you're living in your purpose and that sort of thing, that is what allows you to get through those tribulations you were talking about because you're like, yo, I'm focused on my goal. I enjoy this. It's hardship with it, but because I enjoy it and I know I'm in my element, it allows you to persevere. And that's why when people chase money, that's why they're never really quite happy. It don't matter how much money you're making. If you're not if you're not at peace with it, and you're not happy with it, I don't care how much people are paying you, you're gonna burn out, you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna get discouraged. Like I'm in my whole career is based on rejection. Every time I've done several auditions, and it's just like, nah, you know, and sometimes they so cold they don't even tell you didn't get the part. You just don't hear anything. They don't tell you that the show got canceled. You waiting around. You like, man, I ain't. Oh, they ain't call me. I'm like, yo, what's good?
You do like
It's
I'm gonna give him another week. I'm gonna give
I'm
him
gonna give him.
another week.
I'm gonna give him another week. My whole career is based on rejection. When I do stand up,
Right.
the stand up is like one of those professions. I can't think of many, but this is one of those professions where you go up there and you do stand up. The audience shows up to not. They show up in doubt. When you go
Mm-hmm.
when you go do a when you go to you get a physical, you go doctor exam, you go get your car fixed. Everyone's coming to you expecting you to deliver. They're all their faith in you. They pay you that way. They drive up to your shop. They're like, yo, my brakes are bad. Yo, my, I got a blister on my toe. Can you fix that? I got a cough. They come with anticipation of you helping, or with the anticipation of expecting you to do well at what you do. Stand up
Mm-hmm.
is the total opposite. Everybody comes with their arms. Let's
Right.
see if he's gonna be funny. That's the whole thing, So I'm, and again, when I like I said, when I audition, it's the same thing where when you audition, it's lots of rejection, it's lots of no. The only thing that keeps me, that allows me to get through this, is the idea of understanding that this. I know that I'm in when I'm in my element,
Right.
and then of course God is all up and through this. I can't. excuse me, I don't trust. My faith ain't in man. You know, man is man. Man is up and down. Pause. They emotionally up and down. They're all. They sometimes they cool with you, depending on
Right.
how they feel. I came from. I don't. And then like even a couple of years ago, we had the pandemic. We did one episode of the show that I'm working on. We did one episode, one episode in a month. Pandemic hit. We were shut down. I can't trust this earthly stuff, bro. My faith ain't in this stuff. I don't know what's gonna happen. You know what I
Right.
mean? Um, so that's why I just try to just be as thorough as I can be within myself. Um,
That's real,
and
man.
you know, that's all.
The pandemic has definitely hit everybody a little bit different. You know what I'm saying? Everyone kind of had their own pandemic, so to speak. You know,
Exactly, bro.
it
Right
really
on.
did. And it also showed you who was really had their stuff together and also who wasn't, having their stuff together. People started to move different, and I know me personally, like earlier we were discussing about being humble.
Yeah,
Like we go through those different phases in our life. Um, Sometimes I feel like the pandemic was God's way of letting people know, like, hey, you've been giving yourself a little bit too much credit. Let me
yeah.
show you what happens when I remove my hand for a second. You know what I'm
Just for a
saying?
second. Yeah, yeah,
Just
yeah.
for a
Absolutely.
second. Because most people they end up going to God when they're in like these problems in their life, they're in their crisis.
Yeah,
Hey God, please just if you do this for me, I'll never drink again, I'll never smoke again, I'll never do this again. Just grant me this one thing. It's like, why does it always have to be when you're in a crisis? There's now you want to reset your focus. You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? Your focus
Right
should
on.
always be putting God first in your life. And that's one thing I'm big on. And unfortunately for me, the pandemic was a situation where it humbled me as a person. You know what I'm saying? Like I ended up on a ventilator for 12 days fighting for my life because of the pandemic.
Mm.
You know what I'm
I'm glad you
saying?
made
Like
it through, bro. I'm glad
uh,
you made it through, bro. Absolutely.
absolutely. And everything was on halt. Nothing else mattered. No, my goals, my dreams, or my ambition, none of that mattered, bro. When you're in the hospital and this whole world, you realize, like you said, I'm nothing, right? You realize how small you are. It don't matter how big, how famous, how rich, how
Yeah.
poor. You all come to a point in this life where it's like, all right, what's next? You know what I'm saying? So for me, the pandemic was a humbling experience. It was a huge reset on my life, personally speaking, to the point where coming out of that, I feel like God blessed me with an opportunity to help others, focus on others, and so that's why the birth of this whole podcast came from. It was always about others, and so
Yeah.
speaking about your gifts and your talent, I think we hit it right on when we say your talent is not for you; it's actually for others.
That's
So
what people gotta understand. Yeah. Right on.
yeah, so when God blesses you with the ability to sing, that ability to sing is really a blessing for others. It's a talent for you, but when other people hear your voice, they're gonna be inspired. When other people hear your voice, they're gonna get through certain hardships with certain trauma in their life. It's gonna be a deliverance for other people,
Yeah.
and so even for acting, when you're doing your thing as an actor, it's going to be other people that may look up to you like, hey, look, man, this guy made it from LA. He was out, in that same environment that I said I'm from. It's so many more people that we have an impact on that we don't know
Yeah.
than what
I
we
mean,
do
I agree.
sometimes.
I agree. I did a post about that the other day too, which is understanding that our gifts are not for us. So when you understand that your gifts are not for you, it creates a humility because it's like people have to look at the gifts at people have to look at their gifts like a rental car. Like who flosses in a rental car? That ain't yours. But you gotta understand that within your heart. You know, so many people think that it's about them. That's how, that's why I'm so grateful, you know, with understanding that our gifts are not for us, man. Because when you understand that your gifts are not for you, your appreciation to be a recipient of the gift changes your whole perspective. It changes your attitude and how you deal with your gift. It changes your reverence for it, and it changes your gratitude and your respect for it. That's why anytime I have lots of talented friends, but they aren't moving in their gift.
Mm-hmm.
And what they don't understand is how disrespectful it is to God to not be moving in your gift. Because you could be anything, you know,
Right.
especially my artistic friends. I'm like, man, you can sing, you can dance, you got poetry, you can paint, you can act, man. And this is not to say that if they were gifted in something like culinary, even though I look at cooking as art too, but
Yeah.
if they did mason work, you know what I mean, or they did their bricklayer, whatever. Everybody does something. So for you to be filled with this laziness, and to not to have the attitude to feel like you can sit on your gift is is not cool, man.
That's what's
That's what
up.
I'm always pushing. I'm like, man, go, man. Don't you can act, you can do this and that. I'm like, go. But see, the thing is, again, this goes back to discipline.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't have the discipline to really focus and to do what's required to develop that particular craft. It's like, yeah, you got the gift, but now how are you going to hone it? How are you going to perfect it? How are you going to master it? And a lot
Right.
of people don't have the discipline because they don't they don't have enough focus. That's why my whole thing is I'm always talking about being focused on my page, but part of that is because not because I'm super focused, but because I can not be focused. It's important for me to always speak being focused upon
Mm-hmm.
myself, so that when I'm not focused, I've drilled it so much in my mind of being focused and disciplined. My mind, my mental begins to focus in an autopilot space, where even if I don't feel like, I don't care what go on Saturday, Friday night. I don't care if I go out, have a good time, go to a party. Saturday morning, I gotta be in the gym. Saturday morning or Saturday night, I gotta get into the club. I gotta do the work. I need to be doing something every day that puts me closer to where I want to be. You know, so my whole life is focused on, you know, not that I'm perfect. I ain't nothing of nothing, as I
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, but I'm trying to be. It's my attempt to try to be very focused.
Now on set, you've definitely worked around a lot of talented individuals, people that's really like OGs in the game,
Well,
very have reached that top
yeah,
tier
that
level.
status, absolutely, absolutely.
I always think about Chris Tucker and Dewayne Johnson for you.
Yeah.
When, as far as being an influence to some of the ideas that you have now as an actor, what are some of the things, and even also as a comedian, what are some of the things that you take from them and you apply to your life?
You know what? I'll give you this one. When I worked with Dwayne Johnson on Ballers, I remember I was living at the time. I was living in Miami, and I remember one random morning I got up, you know, use the bathroom or something. It was like 3 in the morning, and for whatever reason, I saw Dwayne on the gram. He was on Instagram, but he was going to the gym. I was like, "You went to the gym?" It was 3 in the morning. Our call time, we had to be on set like 6, something like that. I was like,
Wow.
"This dude in the gym." And when I saw it that particular morning, changed my whole perspective. I was like, man, if Dwayne can get into the gym before set, I was like, and as busy as he is, as big of a star as he is, with the money he's making, with the muscles he already got,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, man, London, you can step it up. And so what I started to do was the same thing, which was, um, when I have work in the morning, whatever, I go to the gym before set. And what I realize is that just creates a focus throughout the day, especially
Mm-hmm.
especially for the gym, because I don't like the gym. I'm not a gym rat. I'm not I ain't got no shoulders like Dwayne Johnson, none of that. But
Mm-hmm.
part of the reason I go is for my mental. You know what I mean? I think
Right.
everybody needs some sort of mental focus. So I started to go. I learned that from him. When it came to Chris Tucker, I remember Chris Tucker used to always tell me. He said, "London," he say, "Stay." He said, "Stay focused, keep humble, and keep God first." Those three things I still very much so live by. Stay humble, stay focused, and keep God first. And so anything I do, that's why I always try to, I always at least try to acknowledge God in these interviews. So, because sometimes, when you do, like in my position, you do an interview and it's easy because there are a lot of different viewers and you got your followers, got my followers, and people seeing me. And it's like, man, London, you know, don't want to speak about God too much. You get weird and London, don't. Anytime I feel any of that,
Hmm. No, I
that's
encourage it on this platform. That's what we talk about all day, every day.
that's why, you know what I mean. So, but just thinking that it's so it could be so easy for me to get in a space where I get, uh, coy or very timid about
Hmm.
mentioning God, and like I want to do it because people know me from this project or that project, so let me just keep my cool image. But
Right.
I shut all of that
But
down.
that's the thing though. To me personally, we need more people to be honest about what they believe in, because at the end of the day, I don't find it lame to believe in God. Although
Right.
people do have different perspectives and beliefs, I do understand that. But at the end of the day, you have to walk in your truth and what you believe.
That's the thing, and so that's why I totally agree. I totally agree, and that's why I'm like, man, anytime I feel, if there's ever any part of me that feels like, oh, London, you're in front of, let's just say, you're in front of some people, or there's some potential followers that don't do God or Christ or religious anything. Are you
Hmm.
gonna be timid now because people around you? You got the corner boys. You got this atmosphere of professional. When I feel anything, I say, listen, let me be clear about what I'm on. God is
Right.
in control of, He's at the head of my life,
Right.
and I don't shy away from that. I don't care what I do Friday night,
Right.
people
That's
know
important, man. That's
it's
definitely
the truth.
important. It is, because that's that compass that we have. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people
Exactly, bro.
living their life not understanding that moral code is a lot important, is just as important as how you feel. You
That's what I'm
know,
saying.
the
It's
decisions we make every day is influenced by what you believe in. So
that's
if
why
you
I'm
don't
like,
want to
yeah,
put your compass out there for people, people gonna be confused. They don't. Hey, look, this person don't know what he stands for. You know what I'm saying? Like, you need to know, what do I stand for, and what I want people to remember me for.
that's
Because at
at
the
the
end of
end
the
of the
day,
day.
that's your legacy. That is what
That's
your
what I'm
legacy is
realizing.
all about.
Absolutely, bro. We grounded. We gotta be grounded to something. So that's why I don't care what's going on Friday night. And I say Friday night because I like a fun night. Friday night, Saturday night, and not that
Right.
it's not about necessarily uh religion in the sense that
Hmm.
these ceremonial practices of going to some facility, singing songs, listening to this
Tradition.
preaching tradition. But I'm talking about a relationship
There we
with
go.
with a relationship with God, being able to say, I don't care what's going on. Hey, God, I know I ain't been perfect. I know I ain't been grateful enough. I know I've been slipping up this week, and I didn't do that, and I was out of pocket with this. But listen, I still want to acknowledge you in all of my ways. I want to say thank you for allowing me to breathe, to see, because again, some things we take for granted because
Right.
we just do them so loosely. But I'm like, man, everybody didn't wake up today. And not to go into this, but to go into this, when I think about the passing the recently passing of Kevin Samuels, right?
Hmm.
What's wild about that is, regardless of whatever his angle was, it's not about that. What I think about is, again, I'm like, we're talking about a guy. who ideally was a well put together guy. He may not hit the gym, but he did a treadmill or something. He was a very clean cut kind of guy, and whatever his angle was is his angle. But what I think about is when you and this really kicked into a real meaningful thought is when I lost my brother in 2015, and I remember being at my brother's funeral, and it makes you think about, dang, he had a lot of people that loved him and everything. Funeral was packed. I'm like, how do you want to be remembered? And when I look at Kevin Samuels, I'm like, man, we talking about a well-dressed, put-together kind of a posh guy, and his life just ended. And we're like, man, what I think about too, me and my boy was talking about, and this is with all respect, you know, but I think about, I'm like, man, who was there for him? You know, who was there to say, we haven't, to this day, I don't know, maybe I'm out the loop, but to this day, we haven't heard anybody say, they haven't come out to say anything like, hey, on respect of Mr. Samuels, can we please, you know, we're not talk ill of him, or like, we haven't heard anybody who knows him. Nobody has said anything, bro, to acknowledge, to just to forget, regardless of what you think about him, bro, or anybody, his thoughts about anything. Nobody's come out to like speak on his behalf and say, yo, hey man, Kevin was a this, he was a that, he did community work here, he spoke, he did this, he gave back here. So out of respect, like nobody's come up to speak on his behalf.
That's
and I
important.
think about that, I'm like, man, bro. So again, people may not remember what you do for them, but people do remember how you made them feel. And that's the thing that I'm always thinking about, is when I do these interviews, or when I do stand up, or whatever it is, you know, that allows me to connect with people. I'm always thinking about trying to somehow impact them, their life in a way where people be like, yo, I didn't really know him. I met him for a minute. I met him on the street. We was in the same gym together. But yo, man, he was a good dude, or he was solid. He was thorough, or he was at least a good person. He wasn't perfect. I ain't nothing, bro. I ain't perfect of nothing. But at least people can feel like, you know what? He was cool. I you know, if it was a relationship, we broke up with somebody and say, yo, she's able to say, hey, we split, but he was good to me. He respected my mother. He respected, or anybody, bro. And put on these ranges of ideas. But that's what I be thinking about, is how am I going to be remembered, man, at the end of the day. Like I said, as long as God knows that my heart was always to be, you know, acknowledge him in whatever I do. I want to be funny about that. And then with people, as best I can in my heart, I try to be honest, bro. That's it, man. I ain't nothing, bro. But I try to be cool and be respectful of people, regardless of the differences. That's why, you know, I don't need people. People always talk about we need more love in the world, and I understand where they're coming from. But more than that, I'm just like, because love and liking me is emotional. We don't even need that. Just respect. I don't even need for people. We don't have to like each other. Just being able to simply respect you and respect me, because God made you the same way he made me, in the sense that you breathe air like I breathe air. That should be enough. What liking me is emotional.
Right.
But just to be able to say, yo, I don't need for racists to like me. That's cool.
I just need them to respect you.
Respect. You don't like me because I'm black, and I don't like you because of your attitude. Cool. So, but don't do anything to prevent me from getting ahead. I'm not going to do anything to prevent you from getting ahead. Let's just respect each other's differences. Whatever you want to be on. And we know all the different categories that are out now these days.
Yeah.
I'm like, do you, bro? That's cool. I'm going to do me. I'm going to stay over here. It's all respect. That's what I be trying to be on, bro. So in general, that's why when it comes to these interviews and different things like that, I'm always very appreciative, that you guys even reach out to me, and then we able to set it up and work it out, because I understand that sometimes you got a group of listeners and followers that don't know anything about me. A lot of times I know people think of actors as, they have an idea of what they think actors are, but
Right.
this acting thing don't make me, man. This is just, that's why when I'm in New York and I'm walking the streets and people are like, hey, what you doing at the regular? What are you doing in the Foot Locker? What are you doing at the I'm like, bro, I'm regular. My job is public, but this stuff don't make me. That's why
Right.
I'm so glad I come from nothing,
And
because
I see you say that a lot too, man. Because like I've tapped into a couple of your lives, and I've noticed in your lives you're always so just original. You're very authentic with the approach you have to your audience. You don't make yourself, like I said, you're very humble. You don't really make yourself to be larger than life itself. I know there are certain times where you kind of look at it like, well, I'm not. Even in one of your lives, you was like, I'm not famous. I consider well known because I have a public job, but
that's
I
it,
don't.
man.
But you don't consider yourself to be on that stratosphere of just straight superstardom of
I
fame.
mean, I think I'm going to. Don't get me wrong. I believe I do understand that I'm something special, in the
Right,
sense that I know I'm here for something. But as far as my attitude and my energy, man, I look again. I just have a public job. I'm not here to be dealing in my own ego about
right.
anything. That's why when I leave the post that I post,
Hmm.
I'm not coming out of an ego. I don't. That's
Yeah.
not my hiccup, bro. That's not my bag. I know. Again, I'm not perfect, but I don't function out of that. I don't function out of the ego, bro. That's just never. That's not my bag. I don't need.
But that's a good thing though, because at the end of the day, when you feel that way, that means when you elevate, you still gonna be hungry. You're still gonna be just that same humble person. Like I interviewed Lunel. I had her on a podcast, and when I was talking to her, I was like, "So how did you feel when you made it?" And she's like, "Who are you talking to? Made it? I haven't made it yet." And I'm just
Yeah,
like, do you realize what you have accomplished so far? In my eyes, you have made it. Like, what much more do you want? But to her, she's so like humble with it. She doesn't feel like she's made it yet. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So
yeah,
it doesn't matter if you're selling out whole entire arenas. It's still, if you have that mentality, you're gonna feel like I'm still me. I
yeah.
haven't made it.
You know what? But it's also, it depends on also, um it's understanding where your bar is, in the sense that, like, when you understand, when your bar continues to, when you set a high bar, you're always reaching for it. That's one
Right.
level of it. And then two, like, I mean, well, that's the main thing. But then also, again, I'm looking at this from a God's angle, in the sense that I'm like, man, again, I could not be doing what I'm doing. I could easily, I've had a lot of odd jobs. My life, I really did live the paid in full life. I worked at the cleaners. That, uh oh, let me not incriminate myself. I, I just said that way. If you've seen paid in full, then you've seen paid in full. At one point, I lived a paid in full lifestyle. You
Hmm.
know, and so when you come from nothing, it allows you to appreciate most things. And you be like, yo, man, I'm just glad to just be able to simply pay my bills off my art. I don't have a side, like, I'm not kind of doing acting part time, and this is no disrespect, because everybody's on their grind, but it's not like I'm a waiter from 9 to 5, and then every now and again I kind of get the acting thing in.
Right.
The fact that I can pay my bills strictly off being an artist, that for an artist is major. You be like, man, just living off the art, ain't nothing special, ain't nothing going on, but just being, or even the fact that I was able to work from one series. I did Ballers, and that ended in 19,
Hmm.
the summer 2019, and to go right into another series. Like that's God, man. I don't take credit for none of this. The only thing I would say
Absolutely.
that I did was just the fact that I just was prepared for. I always stay working. I took, like I said, taking free classes, and I just stay prepared for it. But I give all praise to God, man. This ain't me. I ain't, you know, it's
And
whatever with me.
special shout out to the wonderful shows and the cast that you've been on, like Ballers, for example. That's an amazing series on HBO. I love that. And then as well as Raising Kanan. I don't want to have
Mm.
you up here and not speak on that at all. That's a big deal right now, especially you playing the character Uncle Marvin. You know what I'm saying? That character is very, how can I put it, exciting to watch on screen because you really embraced that role and you made it entertaining to see. How much of that character would you say you had an influence on as far as making it the character so lovable and then hateable at the same time? Like, how was that? How much of that influence did you have on that part?
When they create these characters, it's our job as actors to bring these characters to life. So for me, when we audition for these characters, a lot of times the writers don't know necessarily who these characters are. So when we go into the audition, we got to give them a voice and make them somebody. So,
Mm-hmm.
for example, the thing that I brought to Marvin was the eating that people tend to enjoy. I came to the executive or the show creator. I said, yo, I would like, because London likes to eat. So I was like, yo, I think it'd be something, and also coming from theater. In theater, we learn to always keep like what we call busy work.
Mm-hmm.
I always like to have some sort of small nuance of an activity going on, even when I'm not speaking. There's something interesting about the character. So I
Right.
came to them. I said, "Yo, I think it'd be cool. We should make Marvin eat." I like the idea of that, and it was super cool. Shout out to Sasha Penn, the creator and executive producer of the show, the writer, head writer, and
Mm-hmm.
he was like, "Yo, all right, we can do that," and he understood immediately. We did that, and that's why every episode or every scene or something, you catch Marvin snacking. He just finishing some food. I mean, there's some scenes where he doesn't eat. That's because you know Marvin's in some other headspace. But
Right.
in general, pause. But in general, we we create some sort of food activity with Marvin again, just for interest, and that takes a lot of concentration because people got to understand that whatever I decide to eat on the set for that scene, I got to do that for 20 something takes. So,
Wow.
well, all most of you guys see is a 2 minute scene, but we
Right.
done shot it 50 times. Or no, 50 may be a little exaggerated, but at least 20 to 30 times because we
Right.
shooting the same scene from everybody's angle. So let's just say it's 10 times where you guys looking at Marvin, 10 times where you're looking at Rock, 10 times where you're looking at me and Rock. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
30 times, and I'm chewing, you know, a bite of an apple. I gotta take the bite of an apple each time. That means the crew person, the head of props, and stuff like that. They gotta refill my Chinese cup up. They gotta refill the water. Every time I sip, I gotta sip on the same lines. So it actually takes a lot. It takes a lot of concentration to eat and do the lines and play the emotions,
Mm-hmm.
um, and understanding all the dynamics emotionally and play the accent because I'm from LA. I'm LA,
Right.
LA, South Central LA. So I'm playing. Marvin is from Southside Jamaica, Queens. So
Right.
I got to play the New York accent, make sure my LA accent don't come through, and all this other stuff that what I mean. So those are the kind of things that I try to bring to Marvin so that he's not one dimensional. Like
Right.
he got some other stuff. That's why people when they watch Marvin, sometimes they upset with Marvin, sometimes they laugh with Marvin, they're annoyed with Marvin, and there's a lot of different things that people feel when they watch Marvin because those are all the layers that I'm trying to bring. It ain't you can't look at Marvin and be like, oh man, he's the irresponsible uncle that eats food. You
Mm-hmm.
can't say that. Marvin he loyal. He come through for the family. When he got to retaliate with the blicky, he out there. He out there with that. But then sometimes, you know, he got anger issues. He
Right.
snapped on his daughter jukebox. But then sometimes you catch him like in episode 4 when he with Tony. He in Mac mode.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little. So there's all these different things. That's why
It's a lot to his character, a whole
when
lot.
season 2, I think people are gonna really be able to see a more grounded version of Marvin and be like, oh, this is why he was like this. He's working on himself.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to these layers. But when they set him off, they set him off. So we'll see.
Now, look, I know you're a busy guy. You got a lot to do, man. So I got 2 more questions for you. I'm
Sure,
gonna let you go.
sure.
So the first question I have to ask is, as far as your character, Marv, what did you like the most about playing that role, and what did you like? What was the most challenging?
The most challenging I know was the scene with me and Marvin and Jukebox when he came after his daughter like that. That was difficult, bro. I had to really talk to my piece. I know, part of LBGT. I had to really talk to him. It's like, is this real, or are the writers just trying to create some drama? But when
Mm-hmm.
I spoke to them, they say, yo, man, this is a real thing. Like, people really, daughters and different people that come out to their parents do snap. And we got to think, this is back in 91. It wasn't as liberal as it was now.
Mm-hmm.
Marvin is an old school father. And when he found out about his daughter, he went on one, So that scene was the most difficult.
Yeah,
The most, I think, the easiest or the most fun
most fun part. Like, what did you like the
it would
most
be
about playing the character?
I like the fact that Marvin is not in one box. Like, for example, like the other characters kind of boxed into something. Like Rock can't necessarily she can't be funny because she's in charge of stuff. She got to run stuff. Neat
Mm-hmm.
can't be funny or goofing around and crying and all of this stuff because he's running his operation. Lulu can't be like all the other characters. I feel this is my perspective. The other characters are kind of locked into some stuff. The
Mm-hmm.
cool thing that I like about Marvin is that Marvin can be in the villain in the sense that when he needs to retaliate against Unique, he can come out with the gun. If he need to be a Mac and talk to the chicks, he can flirt with Tony. He can be charming. He can be charming. Marvin
Mm-hmm.
can be a villain. Marvin can be irresponsible. He can be funny. He can be well dressed. Whatever it is, Marvin, I like the palette that we've been able to create with Marvin, so that Marvin's not in any box. So that freedom as an actor allows me to play a lot of different things. Where like I said, you might laugh, then you might be mad, and then you're gonna feel Marvin when as far as when Marvin want to get revenge, he want to fight,
Mm-hmm.
you on his side. But then if Marvin's irresponsible, you like, oh, Marvin, what you doing? Marvin can eat, he cannot eat, he can talk, he can be silent, whatever it is, with a
He's a
gun,
jack
without
of
a gun.
all trades. He can do it all.
And that's the fun part about playing a character like Marvin is that Marvin is not in a box.
Absolutely. So look, everyone is definitely looking for season 2. We know it's going to be great. Y'all to set the bar really high, man. Really high. I
Right
think
on.
I think y'all came into the game with the expectation already set high just from being a part of the Power universe.
Yeah, yeah.
So the expectation was really high, but y'all delivered. So now
Man.
it's like people are gonna expect the same thing, if not more. And,
Yeah, right on, right on.
following suit, man. So I really want to say I appreciate your time coming through to the podcast. It was a blessing to have you here today.
Thank you,
I
man.
feel like a lot of people is gonna get a lot of the message, a lot out of the message that you shared with us. You dropped a lot of good gems for us as well, man. So God bless you, your career, everything that you got going on. It's a blessing to have you again, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it, bro. I can't wait for the next interview, man. Thank you for having me, reaching out to me, brother. Peace and blessings to you, man. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you, man.
God bless.
Peace, man.
one, huh?
He ain't enough to just be a king.
And you got the lion in the background, boy. You's a dangerous guy, man.
You are put through the fire. The only thing that kept me going was I knew it was going to happen. I believed it was going to happen.
So I used to print out that list, and I would put my name at the top. I would white out the person on the top, and I'd put my name. And I would print out that list, and I'd keep it in my pocket for the next 4 months. Until one day, the email that I got had my name at the top.